All right, good morning. Today we're gonna concentrate on two of the questions that we learned last week, and these are the answers that are given by just the vertex. So when something happens and what height does it have, right? And when we talk about the vertex, we're only talking about finding the maximum or the minimum. So we're gonna have two different parabolas here. We're gonna find the maximum of a parabola and when does it happen, and the minimum of a parabola and when does it happen. Now, some of you have been doing this right, it's just that you do all the work and then you answer in the wrong places. So you need to be very aware that if my answer is in seconds, then it's the answer to the time and not the height. If I have an answer in meters, it can't be when did it happen. It can't happen at 3 meters if they're asking me for when. It can't be at 3 seconds when they're asking you how high. That kind of thing. So very simple problem. So we have the trajectory of a Nerf rocket launched outside of a window in the 4th floor can be illustrated by the following equation. I have h of t is equal to negative t squared plus 6t plus 40. So when does the rocket reach its maximum height? So when does it reach the maximum height? So right off the bat, I should know that they're asking me for time, right? And I don't have the values yet, but I could have a graph here that looks something like this, and I could say, well, this has to look something like this. So this is some rocket launched from the 4th floor, and it's going to go up and then back down. All right, so I just launched the little Nerf rocket, it went up, it went down. So it's asking me, when does the rocket reach the maximum height? Well, I have two axes. I have the y-axis and I have the x-axis, and we have already discussed that 90% of the time my x is going to be my time and my y is going to be my height. Well, if we're talking about the maximum value happens right here at the top of my graph, and I want to know when that happens. So I'm looking at my time. I'm looking at my x-axis. I want to know what x value this is. And I should know that that invisible line that drops is my axis of symmetry. So if I want to know my x value, in this case my x is t. So I want to know the value for t. So t is going to be equal to, well, the value of the x in the vertex. And that will be my axis of symmetry. So this is going to be negative b over 2a. Well, in this case, we have b as positive 6 and a as negative 1, right? So a is negative 1, b is positive 6. So I want the opposite of b, that will be negative 6, divided by 2 times the value of a, which is negative 1. And that will be negative 6 divided by negative 2, which is equal to positive 3. So my time is equal to 3. 3 what? In this case, it could be 3 seconds, right? Some value of time. So when does it happen? It happens at 3 seconds. And the important thing here is that if we answer in a complete sentence, then I know whether this makes sense or not. I can't answer when does the rocket reach its maximum height and answer at 3 meters, right? Because they're asking me when in time. The second question is, what is the maximum height? So here they're asking me, what is the maximum height? So I know that the height happens, the maximum height happens at 3 seconds, but what is it? So in order to solve this, we have to now plug in the value, right? So my equation is the height of a rocket in terms of time is equal to negative t squared plus 6t plus 40. So if I want to know, I have an input and an output, right? So I want to know at 3 seconds, what was my value? So I have the height at 3 seconds, and I want to know what value that is. So all I have to do is substitute in, and it'll give me my answer. So this will be negative 3 squared plus 6 times 3 plus 40. So let's backtrack a little bit. The only thing I did was put my time, the value that I know, inside of the equation. So a 3 here, a 3 here, and a 3 there. Right? So I substituted t by 3, and now I have to solve. So this will be h of 3. So the value of the height at 3 seconds is going to be order of operations. 3 squared is 9. The negative stays. Negatives outside. 9 plus 6 times 3 is 18 plus 40. So the height at 3 seconds is going to be negative 9 plus 18 plus 40. This is 58. 58 minus 9 should be 49. So the height at 3 seconds is 49. So we could say that the height is 49 feet. So the maximum height is equal to 49 feet or meters, or it's not specified in the problem. But whatever it is, it's some value of distance, right? And that's all we have to do. So whenever they're asking me for when does it happen, I'm looking for time. So I'm looking somewhere at the x-axis. So my answer is going to be x equals to something, t equals to something. What they're asking me what is the maximum height, then I'm looking at my y value. So it's going to be some y equals to something, h equals to something. So something that has something to do with height. So let's look at example number 2, and this is going to be the opposite. So instead of going up, we're going to be going down. So we're going to look for some minimum. All right, so for problem number 2. Now problem number 2 is going to be a positive parabola. So it's going to start up, dip down, and go back up. And the problem says the dip of a wet roller coaster can be illustrated by the following equation. So the height in terms of time is equal to 2 times t squared minus 32t plus 48. So in this case, I have some kind of roller coaster, and let's say this is one of those fancy roller coasters that dips underground. So I'm gonna have some I don't know, this is like Splash Mountain where it goes under a tunnel, right? So it goes under the ground. So it starts up at 78 feet because that's my y value, and it dips down underground, gets wet, and comes back up. So it's asking me when does the minimum happen. And again, I have some time, which is my x-axis, and I have some height, which is my y-axis. So I'm looking for when does this happen, at what time. So again, I'm looking for my axis of symmetry. So this is x comma y, and I'm looking for my x value. So this is going to be t is equal to negative b over 2a. And then all I have to do is plug in. Now my a here is going to be 2, my b is going to be negative 32. So this will be t is equal to the opposite of negative 32, which is positive 32 divided by 2 times the value of a, which is 2. So 2 times 2, so t is equal to 32 divided by 4, which is 8. So my minimum, it's going to happen at 8 seconds. All right, so I don't know what my minimum is yet, but they're asking me when does it happen? It happens at 8 seconds. The second question, again, it's going to be what is the minimum height? So I'm going to grab that x value, that t value right here, and I'm going to plug it into my function. So my function again was the height in terms of time is equal to 2 times t squared minus 32t plus 78. Now this is dipping underground, so my answer should be negative. So this is going to be the height in terms of time. My time is 8 seconds. So 8 seconds. It's equal to 2 times 8 squared minus 32 times 8 plus 78. And here I have the same thing. All I did was I grabbed this value here, I grabbed my time and I plugged it in. So this will be 8, this will be 8, and this will be 8. So then this will be 8, ignore that 9 there. So this will be h of 8 is equal to, more again, following order of operations. 8 squared happens first. 2 times 64 minus 32 times 8 plus 78. So my height at 8 seconds is going to be 2 times 64, that's 128, minus 32 times 8, which is 64, 128, 256, I believe, maybe. Let's grab a calculator. 32 times 8, yeah, 256, minus or plus 78. And then I put all of that in the calculator, so the height of, or the height at 8 seconds is going to be, I believe, 50 something maybe. So 128 minus 256 plus 78. Oh, so it'll be just negative 50. Does that make sense? 256 plus 78 minus 78. Yes. So the height at 8 seconds, it's negative 50. So in this case, it could be negative 50 feet for all I care. But I know that the maximum height, or in this case, the minimum height, is going to happen at negative 50. Right? And again, I need to make sure that I'm answering the things correctly. So when does the roller coaster happens? It happens at 8 seconds. What is the minimum height? Well, the minimum height is negative 50 feet. So it goes underground 50 feet. So please go ahead and do the few problems I'm going to put up. I think it's going to be 2 problems today, and tomorrow I'm going to put up a worksheet for the rest of the week. Work on those. The only thing I'm concentrating on this week is the vertex. So when does it happen? The x. And what is it? The y. All right. Have a wonderful rest of the day.